Welcome to Season 4 of the Powered by Rock podcast. We'll bring you the best stories in rock music with a focus on highlighting independent rock musicians and their music from all over the world. No, rock music isn't dead. It's getting better and better. It's just time for you to start paying attention again. With that said, let's get this party started.
The mountain's gonna rise and fall by me.
Hello and welcome to the Powered by Rock podcast. Today I wanted to continue our DIY rock career conversations and speak directly to the musicians that listen to the podcast and use my background in business to help give some good advice on what to do and what not to do in the music industry. I think even non-musicians are going to enjoy the episode because I like to talk about how to achieve your goals and make your dreams come closer to reality without sounding like a hype machine full of horse shit. And I believe the concepts I talk about today can not only be applied to music, but to pretty much any business, any career, or just your everyday lifestyle. In today's episode, I want to spend some time talking about the topic, how do you know what being a successful musician means? And how you as a musician can apply the answer to that question to your music career right now to help make progress towards the end goal of making a living from your music without having to work a day job. The first thing I want to talk about on this topic is answering the question of what success looks like for a musician. My first question I pretty much have to ask you as the listener is, have you ever dreamt of becoming a successful musician? And then the second follow-up question is, do you even know exactly what successful means when it comes to building a music career? Most people assume you have to be rich and famous, playing arenas, be on the radio, all that stuff. But I can tell you there are a lot of bands out there right now playing music every day who are doing really well for themselves and living out their dreams without ever selling out an arena or having a hit song on the radio. So what is success then? Well, that's what I want to talk about today because not every musician is successful in the same way. And some of those musicians who sell out arenas aren't always happy with the lifestyle that comes with it. So would you call someone who is miserable successful in their career? I know I wouldn't. I don't know if anybody who's, one of those people like, oh, I freaking hate my job and I still get paid to do it, but I do it every day just because I make money. Even all the money in the world isn't going to make you happy, right? So if you're not happy, why do it? So today, I want to help you create what your vision of success will look like for you in your music career so you absolutely have no doubt in your mind when you have hit your goal. And the only way I know how to answer this question for you is to create what I call a vivid vision for your success so you know when you have become successful. Now, a vivid vision isn't something I created personally. It's actually something I'm borrowing from a person that I've met in my lifetime named Cameron Harold. He actually did this for businesses, but it's an immensely useful concept. And I'll try to explain it here in layman's terms. So let's first talk about how you create your vivid vision. Now, Abraham Lincoln once said, the best way to predict your future is to create it. That sounds fine and dandy. How do you create your future though, right? But I want you to hear this sentence again. And if it still doesn't make sense, hear it again, listen to it again, read it again, write it down, listen to it, all that stuff, right? Say it out loud. The best way to predict your future is to create it. Lincoln knew that before modern music was ever created, and even a lot of modern businesses were invented, that if you want something to happen, the best way to make it happen is to actually go out and start doing it now and create that for yourself. Literally, this is the best way to predict your own future. So does this mean you just go out and play music and hope things get better? No, that's not exactly what I'm talking about. Hopes and prayers may be good enough for some people's belief to get you into heaven, but they have little to no effect on the real world. And sorry to any religious people out there who are looking to be a rock star. I mean, you might actually have a better shot as a Christian rock musician. But the reality is you need to start creating the vision you want for your career and make decisions every day and every week that get you one step closer to achieving your goal. So let's just go through an exercise real quick. I want you to close your eyes. Unless you're driving, don't do that. Just listen to this. But imagine a scenario I'm laying out for you. During this exercise, I want you to keep in mind that you're only 3 years in the future. And while a lot can change during that time, you can't just go from never having played a live show to being a millionaire selling out arenas. But that doesn't mean you can't be living off the income you earn as a musician, and that in itself can have some huge life-changing perspective. So let's jump in. I want you to imagine you are 3 years in the future, 3 years from this date, whatever date you're listening to this. It could be, maybe the day that it comes out or the first day that it airs, but maybe it's, later on. Just imagine you're 3 years in the future. You're in your own body. But things are different now. You wake up, you're more fulfilled than you ever have been. You're excited about what you're going to do that day. You're happy about what you accomplished over the last 3 years to get you to this point. And most of all, you're happy with your balance between your music and your personal life. I want you to envision what is happening in your day. Where in the world are you? What do you see, smell, hear, taste, and feel? What steps did you take over the last 3 years that got you to this place? Who did you meet and or take advice from that got you pointed in the right direction? What goal did you set for yourself and how did you hit it? How do you feel right now when you're thinking about your vision of success? Right now, you should be inspired. Right now, you should feel like, hey, you know what? I actually know in my head what it looks like to be successful. When I'm 3 years in the future, I am successful. Right now, I don't consider myself successful. And heck, in 3 years, when you're in that position, you still might not consider yourself successful. However, you will have written documentation that you have achieved what you considered success from 3 years ago. So do you feel like you can start to see how you can create a path to being a successful musician? Because it really just comes down to you having a very clear idea of what it means to be successful for your music career. So if you're thinking, hey, I'm going to be waking up on a beach, right? I'm, taking a vacation that I haven't been able to take because I work a job that I never get time off from or whatever. The best thing that you can do is basically take a break, spend some time for yourself, go touring, go play music, go play a show where there's, 1,000 people in front of you versus a show that's only, 20 people or whatever. Just think about what you're doing 3 years in the future, how your day is going. Imagine you're playing a movie of a day in your life 3 years from now. So if you can do that, you can start to really concretely picture exactly what your success looks like and what your future will actually look like. And again, remember what Lincoln said, the best way to predict your future is to create it. So you're not creating your future like by jumping into the future, right? You're actually creating it by making that in your mind right now, writing all the detail you can out. So as soon as you can, pick up a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil and just start writing out exactly what your mind is playing to you right now. Where are you? Where are you? What are you seeing? What are you smelling? What are you tasting? What are you hearing? Who are you around? What are you touching? What are you feeling? How are your emotions, right? What in your experience of that successful version of yourself is the reason that you want to get to that point? Because the idea is that you're not picking, 3 years in the future and you're homeless, destitute, sitting on a sidewalk, huffing cans of paint, right? You're actually picturing something where you're happy, you're, the ideal version of yourself or whatever you want to consider that, but you're successful to your own term. It's not a term of success where you've sold 1 million records or had 10 million streams on Spotify or, put, $1,000 into a bank account. Your success is going to be different from every single person who ever answers these questions. It's going to be completely unique to you. If you write that down, you will know exactly what success means to you in your music career. If you have not ever done this as a musician or as a person or as, a business person, this is the reason why you're not hitting the goals that you want, because you don't know what you actually want. If you thought to yourself, hey, I really want to buy something, right? Like I need to save up $333 for a new guitar pedal. You know exactly the goal. You have to get to $333 to hit that goal of achieving that new guitar pedal, right? But nobody ever thinks to themselves like, what's the goal I have to hit? Not even necessarily money wise, but just the goals and the vision, the concepts that I have to hit in order to be happy, to achieve what I want to achieve in the world. Now, the good thing is in 3 years' time, you will have new vivid visions for yourself. You'll have new ideas about what you want to achieve. And sure, there's probably going to be some point where you're going to stop, climbing quickly and growing to a point where you can just keep growing and growing and growing. But that time is not 3 years in the future, and it's probably not 6 years, and it's probably not 9 years in the future. If you stay with something for a long time, you will keep growing for quite a long time. It's really only up to your ability to keep doing it for a while, right? Your motivation, your accountability, your inspiration, all that stuff. After a while, a lot of people will get lazy. A lot of people will take things for granted. A lot of people will just get bored. And then you move on to something else and grow in a different way. Now, if you stop growing, I can't help you. Like, that's the point of, most things. I'm not saying you have to grind your whole life away. I'm not saying that, but you do have to continually try to make progress to hit your goals and to achieve things, right? So that's what I'm actually boiling down today is like, what do you want to achieve? Write it all down, put it on a piece of paper. And I'm actually going to give you some action steps here at the end of this, this podcast today, this episode today, to where you can actually do that. But right now, I just want you to sit there and think while you're listening, what does success mean to me? What am I seeing? What am I hearing? What am I feeling, smelling, touching, everything, right? Who's around you? What did you do? What inspired you to this point? What pieces of advice or what actions did you take? Because there's a thing that's called future memories that I like to talk about. And what a future memory actually is while you're picturing yourself 3 years in the future, you've created a certain visual in your brain, which now can be considered a memory, right? So it's in the future, but it's a memory because you thought of it. So now it's something that's in your reality of yourself right now in your present, but it's now in your past because you already thought about it. What you can do as well is think about yourself in that future, person, right? So I'm thinking about myself in the year 2026 because it's 2023 right now. And let's just say in 2026, I'm on the Stephen Colbert show talking about the Power by Rock podcast. I don't know. That's just one thing that would be really cool if I could do. And I'm just going to say, that's what's going to happen. It's one of the goals I have for this show. And I don't know how I'm going to get there, but let's just say I started to, in my future self, right? Like in 3 years from now, as part of my goals, I wanted to be on the Stephen Colbert show, like the late show of Stephen Colbert. And at some point I, thought to myself like, hey, I went on a trip to New York. I went to a taping of the show. I happened to meet a, representative of the show there that I mentioned this to and just got to talking. And just by me talking to this person, that person then told Stephen Colbert himself, and so on and so forth. And it kind of just naturally became something that actually happened. Now, is that something that has happened to me right now? No. Is that something that will happen for sure in the next 3 years? Not necessarily, but I would, if one of my main goals was to be on Late Show with Stephen Colbert, I would be a lot more inclined to make it happen if I made that a very major goal of mine in 3 years' time. So it's just something like that. It's just, you got to think about your future self, some of the things that you actually did to get to that point, right? So like if you're saying to yourself, 3 years from now, I want to make a livable income, sustainable income of $5,000 or $6,000 or $10,000, whatever it is, every month, and just play music. And I don't have to work doing anything else other than playing music, maybe doing like, music related activities like teaching lessons or something like that, whatever you want. But one of the things that you did was you appeared as a musician on a talk show, a late night show, Saturday Night Live, something like that. If you put that as one of the things that got you to being able to hit that career goal of, $8,000-$10,000 a month in income, and part of that was you trying to get booked on one of these shows, you'd have a much bigger chance of getting booked on those shows because you would actively be pursuing that activity, right? So just think about that, because one of the things that I will encourage you to do is think of all the cool things that you want to do that will, kind of get you closer to what you deem as success. And you can even write those in as past or future memories of your past self from 3 years from now. So it's a very interesting exercise. It's like creating a crystal ball and seeing in your future, because you're literally creating those images and those visuals in your brain right now to time travel. It's one of the most incredible things that you can do is your brain is actually a time travel device and you didn't even know it. So again, you'll literally be writing your own future and giving yourself a step-by-step plan to achieving it. And even if you don't know the nitty-gritty details of what the processes may be yet, so like if you did, you'd probably already be doing those things, but you can still write out the ideas and thoughts, and that will help you achieve the goals. So even if you don't know, like, well, how do I get booked on Saturday Night Live? Is there like a 10-step process? Do I need to achieve certain metrics or whatever? If you did that, you would know like, hey, I've got 4 of those metrics achieved now out of the 6 or 8 or whatever, and I need a contact, right? So you need to find the contact. These are the things that you could easily do if you were just actively pursuing that activity. So what I want you to do right now is to build out your vivid vision for your music career over the next 3 years using our vivid vision template. And I'll make sure to put that into the show notes below this episode. You're going to be very descriptive, as this will ingrain the smells, the sounds, the feelings, and the thoughts of your future successful self into your present day self. So again, the best way to predict your future is to create it, right? Seriously, it might even make you smile on a regular basis when you think about it. I'm going to take a quick break, but I'll be back with more about this topic and what actions you can take right now to start moving your career forward.
Reverend Guitars embodies the idea that every run of scorching lead and every roll of finger-picked twang deserve the same passion and commitment to quality. Whether you're selling out arenas or playing in your living room, we know that what makes an instrument powerful is when players wield them to create something remarkable. A melody that moves mountains, a riff that just won't quit. We want to be there in your hands when that happens. For us, that means staying true to what we believe. Somewhere along the road of electric guitar history, it became a crazy idea that guitar makers should craft guitars with the same sense of purpose and passion, whether they're played in a bedroom or an arena. If that's a wild idea, then we're in the right place, carrying 6 strings and an attitude, and we're in good company. Reverend Guitars. Well played.
Running your own music career is incredibly difficult. Trying to get people to like, share, comment, listen, follow, it's all just overwhelming. Most musicians give up before they ever achieve success, and that's the worst. If you're looking for a better way to grow your music career, head to DIYrockcareer.com for some absolutely free training. It costs you nothing, and it could be the difference between hitting your goals and quitting your dream. Go to DIYrockcareer.com today by clicking the link below this episode.
Then I lost my way.
All right, welcome back to the Powered by Rock podcast, where I've been talking about the importance of building a vision of success for your music career and moving yourself towards it with every action you take. So what I want to do right now is actually give you 5 actions to take right now, so that way you actually move your music career forward, right? So the very first action I want you to take is to download the Vivid Vision template from the show notes below this episode. The second action you're going to take is, once you've downloaded it, you go ahead and print it out. And I want you to write out about a page or 2 of what it was like to wake up in that body 3 years in the future, knowing that you have accomplished a big goal for yourself and your music. So write out everything that you just imagined in your head. Write out what is happening in your day. So this is step 3. Write out what is happening in your day. What steps did you take over the last 3 years that got you to this place? Write out those future memories, right? Think about what you actively did to get you to that successful position. What goal did you set for yourself, and how did you hit it? Who did you meet and or take advice from that got you pointed in the right direction? All these things are going to be hypothetical at this point, but even if they're hypothetical, you can still point yourself in that direction right now to help you achieve those goals. Most importantly, step 4, how do you feel? What do you see? What do you hear? What do you smell? And what do you taste? These are the things that are going to make you have these senses come alive, right? It's like, they say like your sense of smell is the strongest thing for like committing it to memory. So like if you smell a certain thing, it'll bring you back to, a perfume or whatever. Like you'll think of a girl that you dated in high school or something like that, whatever. But it's these kinds of things. When your senses are activated, it becomes more real, which means you're going to be envisioning this a lot more often and putting yourself on track to hitting this stuff. Step 5, once you have written out this vision for yourself, I want you to remember that every decision you make in your life will determine if you are getting closer to or further away from that vision. I want to repeat that because it's actually that's one of the most important things you'll ever hear. I want you to remember that every decision you make in your life will determine if you are getting closer to or further away from that vision. Do you not want to practice today? Do you not want to play your guitar today? Do you not want to sing today? Do you not want to do something? Do you not want to book anything? Do you not want to write any new music? Do you not want to record anything? The more things that you say no to, push off, procrastinate, the more things that will push you further away from your vision. the more things you say yes to, commit yourself to doing, and actually take action towards, will bring you closer towards those successful visions, right? Just saying yes to everything obviously is not the case either, though, because if you say yes to stuff that's drawing you away from what you're actually trying to do, that's not going to help either. So if you say yes to, like, I'm going to go hang out and get drunk all night when I know I should be actually practicing, or, putting more time into the marketing side of your band or your, solo career or whatever you're trying to do. So there are definitely things that people will do. And I know it sounds crazy that every human being essentially self-sabotages themselves by wasting time, right? Irrational time management. Does binge watching Game of Thrones help you move forward towards your music career? No, it doesn't. Am I saying that you can't take time to relax? Not at all. But maybe don't spend 6 hours watching TV a day, right? Maybe spend 2 hours hanging out with your family and your friends and stuff like that. If they happen to be watching TV and you want to watch together, that's great. That's quality time. That's human time that you can spend together, right? But don't just binge watch something because you're trying to kick something down the road, right? Like, you don't want to go ahead and start this new project because you know how overwhelming it is if you think about it. The more overwhelmed you let your body, absorb, the less likely you will to even take a step forward. They usually call that analysis paralysis, or, something of that sort, where you just have so many thoughts in your brain about what to do that you can't make anything happen. You won't do anything. So you're just frozen by fear of not doing anything, right? Or not being able to do it all. So I will say the best way to hit a goal, and actually I just watched the first part of the new Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary, and he actually says it as well. He says, I don't know, I'm not a psychologist or anything like that, or a psychiatrist, but what he will say is that when you're actively trying to hit a goal, you almost don't even think about other things. So you don't have time to be depressed a lot of times. Like, his dad and his brother died and all these other things were happening, and he just kind of pushed it away. Not that he didn't care. It's just that he was so actively focused on something that he almost just didn't give himself time to grieve or do anything. And I'm not saying you need to do that, but what I'm saying is you will actually find yourself less overwhelmed if you just keep taking actions towards your goal. You'll find yourself less likely to get in your own way because you're going to keep taking small steps. You don't have to take big steps. You just take small steps every single day. A good book that you can read that is actually quite helpful for motivation on this topic is called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. I'm pretty sure it's Jeff Olson. You can go read that book, and it just talks about how, like, if you want to do 30 push-ups, maybe you start with 1 push-up today, do 2 push-ups the next day, do 3 push-ups the next day, 4 the next day, and so on, right? It's just a small action. You're not trying to commit to 30 push-ups right away. Just like if you're trying to run a marathon, you're not going to commit to 15 miles on the first day. You're going to commit to 5 or 3 or 2 or whatever you can do. And then you're going to slowly build up, right? So I'm not here to try to push you as fast as possible to your career and your successful careers as fast as possible. But what I am saying is the more action you take consecutively and in a committed way to where you're not going to break that chain of action, the faster you will make things happen and the less hard it will be, right? You'll find it to be easier when you take simple steps as opposed to trying to jump everything at once. It's not like college where you just cram for an exam the day before and then try to do everything the next day when, the test is there, right? This is the real world where you can take all the time you want to get to something, but the more things you do during the days between the goal and now, the more things you do, either you'll get there faster, or when you get there, it'll be exponentially more powerful or more successful than you even thought. So keep those strategies and keep those concepts in mind, because in reality, if you are just, procrastinating and not doing any of this stuff, you're never going to get to where you want to go. And I don't want that for you. That's why I'm, sharing this information with you. I've been, working with small businesses for, 10 years now, almost, actually probably about 10 years now. And this is one of the biggest limiting factors is people just don't believe they can do it. People get overwhelmed. People don't even know what they're trying to achieve. They don't set goals. They don't have a vision of what success is. And they just think they have to hit $1 million and that's the only way they're ever going to be successful. Lo and behold, when you get to $1 million, even if you do hit that goal, it might be drastically different than what you planned for yourself, right? So they didn't have any actions to get them to that point. So they just did anything and everything to get to that point. So what I want you to do is actually fill out that vivid vision template, write it out, put it somewhere that you can see every day as well, or, see relatively often, because if this is truly your dream and this is your vision of success, you want to be able to check on it regularly, right? So like if you're playing, Minecraft or something, I don't know what you do right now, but let's just say you're wasting time on video games or, doom scrolling on social media. Just look over at that, vivid vision and just give it a quick glance and start to read some of it. And if that doesn't inspire you to keep moving towards your career, I don't know what will. So that's what I got for you guys today. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. I'm going to record a few more episodes, obviously, and keep going with some more of this information. Hopefully you enjoy it. And remember, being a musician is hard work, just like any other career. Just because you say you want to be a musician does not mean you'll ever actually try to do it, or that you will do it with any real intention. And that's my focus here with these episodes, is to make you do it with intention, right? You have to know why you're doing it and what the intention of what you're doing is. So my goal is to help you, inspire you in any way possible to move closer to the goal of you creating this result for yourself. If you like what you heard today, make sure to go check out the links to the downloads below this episode so you can start applying these concepts to your music career today. Also, if you want to get some more ideas about how to move yourself towards a career in music, feel free to head to DIYrockcareer.com for some absolutely free training. If you feel this episode would be helpful to a musician that you know, please be sure to subscribe and share the podcast on social media. That's our show for today. We'll see you soon for the next episode. Until then, rock on.